Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, discussing all the latest in Philadelphia sports.
Torn ACL. Torn ACL, it appears, yes. What the report I got this morning was just ACL, yeah. We overcame our middle linebacker. We've overcome a running back. We've overcome a core special teams player this year, our kicker this year. This is no different. He is the quarterback of our football team. Each one of these guys that I mentioned is tough to replace. But you know what? The reason we went out and got Nick Foles is for reasons like this and for situations like this. And I'm excited for Nick, obviously. I hate it for Carson Wentz. I hate it for the career, the season, I guess, that he's been having. But at the same time, it's been the next man up mentality, and that's how we approach it this week.
And now, here's Tyler Werner.
Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't see it ending up like this. After the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Los Angeles Rams, they get the huge win that I thought they would eke out. Maybe many others thought they would eke out as well. But it came at the huge price of Carson Wentz tearing his ACL and ultimately being out for the rest of the season. Not to mention, given the timetable for the recovery of a torn ACL, we're looking at 9 to 12 months. And, 12 months. To think that he may not be back, ready to go, fully recovered from this until mid to late next season. If you're going to play it on the safe side, well, we'll see how it goes. But that's just, in a sense, depressing. This seemed like a season of destiny. And look, I know right out of the gate, I know I sound like I'm saying it's impossible for the Philadelphia Eagles, who are, by the way, they're still probably going to win the next 2 games. I sure hope that even with Nick Foles under center, I still hope that they're able to beat this New York Giants dumpster fire of a team this Sunday. And I still hope as well that they're going to be able to beat the Oakland Raiders when they come here on Christmas night. That's 13 wins right there. And now the way things look, it's just amazing. Everything fell into place this week. Everything was falling into place. Just like I was saying. Eagles beat the Rams. Rams are out of home field advantage contention. They have 4 losses. The Saints, they lost to the Falcons on Thursday night. They now have 4 losses. They're not getting home field advantage. And the Minnesota Vikings lost to the Carolina Panthers. Tough situation after 8 wins. This was after 2 straight road games, the second of which was a big win, impressive win over the Atlanta Falcons. They weren't going to beat the Carolina Panthers. They hung right with them, but Carolina reigned supreme. Carolina maybe a bit of a desperate situation as well to keep pace in that competitive division. So the Vikings lost. And given that's a common opponent, a key common opponent that the Eagles beat earlier in the season, the Eagles at this point can probably afford to lose one more game. And even at the end of the year, both Vikings, Eagles finish 13-3. Eagles have the edge. So, by the looks of it, the Eagles are still going to get home field advantage. They're going to win 13 games at worst. I might consider that Cowboys game last of the season a loss. Whether it's because they can rest their starters at that point, or maybe the Cowboys, they're just out for revenge in Philadelphia, and given that Carson Wentz is not going to be playing, and that it's a huge drop-off to me from Wentz to Foles, that game may not matter one way or the other. Unless, of course, for some silly reason they lose to the Giants or the Oakland Raiders. And I know the whole theory, which I just said about the Vikings losing their third straight road game, could apply to the Philadelphia Eagles. But not against this dumpster fire New York Giants team.
I agree.
They better not lose to the Giants, all right? Yeah, I know people want to say, oh, well, they almost lost to them early in the season. Well, that's when the Giants at least still had something to play for. I think they were in a desperate 0-3 situation at that time. So, and that was early in the season when the Eagles were still kind of finding their feet a little. So, that's how I look at that. But the question is, even if the Eagles get home field advantage now, that's great. That's all well and dandy. But in the playoffs, whether at home or on the road, I believe you need great quarterback play to get to the Super Bowl. I mean, how often does it happen in the NFL where two great quarterbacks are not representing both the AFC and the NFC in the battle for the Lombardi Trophy? Now, the most recent case, I guess we could make a case for, is the other year ago when Peyton Manning was at the end of his career. And people at that point, we were joking that, he had a noodle arm, and really the team itself was what was carrying the Denver Broncos, not Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was all but done. He was all but waiting to retire at that point.
Epic comeback starts right here.
Yeah, at that point, he was all but ready for retirement, and it was just hanging on. I guess you could say he was, emotionally carrying the team. Even if his physical skills were eroding before our eyes that season, he was still, I guess, a big locker room leader and a big motivator. You play football alongside Peyton Manning, even with eroded skills. That's still something to play for, I guess. But you also got to take into account that Denver defense was scary that year. And their running game was, cooking with gas, I guess you could say. Now, the Eagles, on the other hand, is their defense scary? Well, look, they can, again, guys like Brandon Graham, who's having a lights-out great season, and Fletcher Cox, who I got to hand it to, is playing. He got the new contract in the offseason, and he's not letting us down as Eagle fans and fanalists, as I like to call myself. An Eagles fan at heart, of course, but I like to be analytical about it. I don't come on this show and wave the pom-poms. Just like I'm not coming on this show today, on the Tyler Werner Show podcast, here in the middle of December. I'm not coming on here with Wentz out for the season. I'm not coming on here and waving the pom-poms. Oh, they're going to be all right. They're going to go. Foles is going to be good enough. I'm not coming here because I don't. I just don't feel that way, and I'm sorry.
What the hell?
I really got to rekindle these Foles sound bites now.
How's everyone doing? Let's make some noise. Come on.
It's like deja vu. But I cannot come on here because here's the thing. Like I said, that was an all-world defense that year for the Denver Broncos. Not just with guys like Von Miller, not with just a vaunted front seven, but also the secondary being as great as it was that year as well. This Eagles secondary, at times, it's been good, but I can't sit here and say it's great. I can't sit here and say it's as great as that Broncos secondary was. Or say the Seattle secondary has been in recent years where they've gone to the Super Bowl, lined up with that secondary, and won the one year and fell short the other year against the New England Patriots. When the Patriots were en route to ring number 4 with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, out with something to prove after the Deflategate accusations.
To me, those balls are perfect.
Now, again, the running game for the Eagles, too. I mean, we see the formula. I'm sorry, Nick Foles, the drop-off from Wentz to Foles is drastic. A big part of the reason this Eagles team is 11-2 and not, I don't know, maybe 6-5, like I maybe thought they were going to be at this point in the season, or more like 7-6, 13 games in. The big part of the reason is, Carson Wentz, every game, he's going to make plays. His skill set is just about as complete as you can ask for, and he's having an MVP caliber season. And I think the way he bounced back this past week before he got injured, the performance overall he had in this game, the way he responded to a shaky game in Seattle, kind of reaffirmed himself as a favorite in the MVP conversation this year. I think, we'll see what happens with Brady and the Patriots bouncing back against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're going to bounce back. And that game is huge. Well, we'll get to it later on the round. But, now it's kind of down to him. Maybe Russell Wilson. Jared Goff, outside chance. I don't think he gets MVP. But Carson Wentz is a huge reason this Eagles team is where it sits today at 11-2. Third down efficiency. It's like it's unheard of. Inside the goal-to-go situations this season, 93%. And a big part of that reason is Carson Wentz, the way he plays. They didn't get all those touchdowns by running the ball in goal-to-goal situations. And it just, on a human level, and obviously from an Eagles standpoint level, it is just that much more depressing in a sense that Carson Wentz tearing him the ACL, they even believe it happened before that play late in the third quarter where, as a quarterback, instincts kick in. 4th and goal situation, you're down. This is a huge game. I know the temptation, of course, is to say maybe Carson Wentz has to scale it back. That was too gutsy of him. Yeah, I understand. I definitely understand that viewpoint. I wonder if that's going to be a factor in the future with Wentz. But in that situation, his football instincts kick in, and he's like fearless to he's tough and fearless to a fault. And he runs for that end zone and takes, it gets sandwiched, and it didn't look good, obviously. And he was in for the touchdown, but of course the play didn't even matter. So they had to he plays 4 more plays, throws for a touchdown pass. I saw a meme. It wasn't even really, it was just a statement that Dak Prescott, without Ezekiel Elliott for 3 weeks, couldn't throw for a touchdown. He loses Ezekiel Elliott in 3 weeks. He can't throw. Carson Wentz loses an ACL, and 4 plays later, he throws a touchdown. But all kidding aside, that just goes to show you. And then they get the touchdown, and he's walking off the field. It's like he doesn't even celebrate. It's like, no, that's not good. And he was kind of limping. At first, I'm thinking, yeah, he's gonna go. He's gonna go back. Maybe it was concussion. But then I saw him limping, and maybe it's just a stinger. Maybe it's nothing serious. And then I hear he's out for the game. And in a big game like this, I'm thinking, oh no. And Nick Foles comes out, probably, ice cold from a playing standpoint, and first snap, he bobbles, and I'm just thinking, oh, jeez. But nevertheless, somehow this Eagles team held on for the win. Defense stepped it up late in the game, but throughout the game, for the most part, they struggled. After the Eagles were up 21-7, they started to struggle. So, I don't quite know if this Eagles defense is scary good. And they were so-so against Russell Wilson. They didn't shut him down, especially in the secondary. So, the running game, I don't know. I mean, J.J. showed a little something this game, that's for sure. I'd like to see him get 15 or so carries a game. Maybe use, again, Blunt, Corey Clement as your changeup guys. But I going forward, I think like many of us, I want to see J.J. He's a fun guy to watch run. I think he should be your definitive number 1 running back. I guess he kind of was this game, but on a more consistent basis. So, I'm looking at these factors here, and I'm just wondering, will they be good enough to still keep that Super Bowl appearance dream alive? I don't know. We'll hear from Doug Peterson on the Tyler Werner Show today, sparking some, Doug is a great guy. And look, some people wanted to, some Eagles fans, they're blaming the Wentz injury on Doug Peterson and his play calling. To my knowledge, to my observations, and it should be to your observations too, if you're watching the Eagles games this season, I don't really recall Doug Peterson calling designed run plays for Carson Wentz. Now, there's been some read option plays, but none where, designed run, besides quarterback sneaks, which aren't, they are what they are, which Carson Wentz is stellar at and seemingly unstoppable at in short yardage situations, short yardage to get the first down or whatnot. But that play where I guess apparently that's where the ACL tear was, whether it was at the hit or before that. That was not a design run play. That's Carson Wentz improvising, which he's done so well this year. And that's something, to me, it's a freak injury. It's not on anyone's fault. I mean, if you want to point the finger, I guess you could at Carson Wentz, but in a big game situation like that, I mean, what else is he going to do in a fourth down situation where they need points, where they're down, and where a touchdown gets them ahead late in the game? Now, see, this is the thing. Foles ain't going to be able to make those kinds of plays. I don't see Foles with the the brethren that Carson Wentz has when it comes to improvisation, when it comes to arm strength. This is going to have to be a dink and dunk passing offense for my money. The offensive line is not what it was when all five guys were seemingly lining up every game, every down, every game practically, and they were completely intact. Jason Peters at left tackle. That was quite a luxury that season when Nick Foles went 27-2. Not to mention, it helped that Shady McCoy was also having a great season. I think an all-time great season for Eagles running backs. And he led the NFL in rushing yardage that year. So, I'm sorry, I don't feel good. I can't come on here and wave the pom-poms. Do I want to see them get to the Super Bowl? Do I want to, see this destiny of a season, this season of destiny come to fruition? Do I want to see somehow this Eagles team get to the Super Bowl and knock off Tom Brady and Bill Belichick? Or maybe Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl? To me, it's down to one of those two teams. Do I want to see that happen? Well, of course. But I don't have the confidence that's going to happen. I don't feel comfortable in that, as Doug Peterson once said in a post-game press conference earlier this season.
I just felt comfortable, confident and comfortable.
I don't feel that way. We'll be back for more right after this on the Tyler Werner Show, following up on the heels of a big win, but also at a big cost.
Investigators are calling it the heist of the century. The grand robbery of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, committed by some apparently hungry NFL officials who love their balls.
When I came in Monday morning, I was shocked to learn of the news reports about the balls and the process that happened between when they were prepared and went to the officials and went to the game.
As shocked as Belichick was of the news, perhaps Brady, the last man out of the kitchen on that Sunday night, was even more shocked to hear of the news of the theft.
I have a process that I go through. It was the same process that I always go through. When I felt them, they were perfect. I wouldn't want anyone touching those. I would zip those things up and lock them away, and that's what I thought I was doing.
As Brady and Belichick upped the ante on their ball security, you'll just have to pick up a pack of their meatballs the next time you hit the grocery store and enjoy just how perfect these balls really are.
Tom's personal preferences on his ball security are something that he can talk about in much better detail than I could possibly provide.
Number one box office attraction, number one WWE superstar, multi-time WWE champion, Brock Lesnar.
Time to revamp your office space, eh? Looking for an interior decorator? Look no further than Brock Lesnar.
Now that's the way a real man uses a sledgehammer.
Out with the old, in with the new. Give Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman a call.
Mr. Lester, you're the future of interior decorator.
I think we're done.
And we're back on the Tyler Werner Show. Mid-December. Here we are, 3 games to go for the Philadelphia Eagles. And bittersweet, it was described, of a win, of a week here after the Wentz ACL tear, out for the season. And probably going to miss a decent chunk of next season, provided they play it safe, or I don't know, unless Wentz is going to have a superhuman recovery and maybe be ready to go just in time for the regular season. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Oh God, ease our suffering in this our moment of great despair.
I guess on the flip side, not that it totally offsets the loss of Carson Wentz, Sixers and Flyers, both victorious last night. Flyers get their 4th straight win after almost a week off from game action. Toronto Maple Leafs second in that division right now in the Eastern Conference, and Flyers defeat them 4-2. They outshoot them 39-22. They've won 4 straight. How about that? Following that 10-game losing streak of previous weeks, and starting to turn around. They're still 7th in the division, as that those 10 losses, I think about half of them were actually overtime losses, but still, that set them back certainly. But a goal and assist. Sean Couturier, goal and assist as well. Yeah, Claude Giroux, I don't know, he seems to be stepping up his game this year, I gotta say. He seems to be having a better season thus far than last year. So we'll see if the Flyers can keep it up. They got the Buffalo Sabres next on the schedule. Meanwhile, the Sixers, they needed a win. After the other night where Joel Embiid didn't suit up, I guess because of back soreness. So it's, one of those cases, just trust the process. Trust the sitting of Joel Embiid that night.
Trust the process.
Wasn't a scratch, though, last night as the Sixers were victorious in overtime. Joel Embiid leading the way, but Ben Simmons, got to see him shoot the ball more. I know he's had a knack for coming close very, very frequently this season of adding triple doubles to his name, but he's got to be a bigger scorer. I think personally, he's got to shoot the ball more. I know that's maybe something that he's working on, and that he can grow. But he's got to shoot the ball more. And how do you get better at that in the game when you don't do that? He's got to be putting up more points. So we'll continue to Sixers now back over 500 after that win, which they needed. They needed to snap this 4-game losing streak, I think. They lost a little bit of ground in the Eastern Conference, but it's still early in the season. So we roll along. Philadelphia, we'll hear from Doug Peterson momentarily. I just don't have the confidence that this Eagles team, even with home field advantage, is going to be good enough with Carson Wentz at quarterback to get it done. Now, we saw again, this Eagles defense, they are vulnerable. This was a bit of a shootout game almost. I mean, it was pretty high score. I mean, it ended up 43-35. Without the Eagles, at the end of the day, there were 35 points scored against them. This was with Carson Wentz playing quarterback, with the offense moving the football. If the Eagles are not able to move the football the same way with Nick Foles, which, by the way, it's certainly going to be more difficult to move the ball unless their running game is really moving. And you can't count on that every drive. But without the third down reliability, you can even go as far to say with Carson Wentz. Without his ability, his efficiency to make plays down the field, mind you, as well, which I don't see Nick Foles being able to make. That's ultimately, in turn, going to affect the defense a little bit, too. That's going to put them out more on the field. Might be more 3-and-outs. It just seems inevitable to me. So, this Eagles team, I know it was on the road against the Rams, but they gave up 35 points. That was with Carson Wentz on the field. That was with the offense producing overall. So, with that said, in the playoffs, same thing. I don't think the home field advantage is going to make that huge of a difference where instead of giving up 35 points, then they're going to give up 10 points. They may have, I mean, they very well may have to keep teams in the playoffs under 20 points to win. Whether or not they can do that, even at home, I don't know. I don't know. Again, all this data we have this year of them going 11-2, this is with Carson Wentz under center, making plays game after game after game, with such great third down efficiency and yada yada. And by the way, that's without Jason Peters much of this time. That's with, a bit shuffling around, playing musical chairs at offensive line. That's what, Zach Ertz missed a couple games here and there. I mean, who'd have thought that Nelson Aguilar would have some of the games he's been having lately? I don't quite believe Nick Foles maybe brings these kind of games out of Nelson Aguilar the same way. I don't know. I don't quite feel it. But head coach Doug Peterson does. I mean, and I can't fault him. I mean, what's he supposed to say? He's supposed to say we're screwed? No, he's not going to say that. And I'm not. I mean, I hate to say we're screwed too. I'm not quite saying that, but I'm just saying. I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable that this Eagles team is going to be able to get it done. I don't think they have that scary defense that Denver had the other year ago when Peyton Manning was just basically had to be a game manager because he lacked the arm strength at that point. And he was at the tail end of his career. And maybe this running game can get it going, kind of keep it going. I mean, the running game has been pretty solid throughout the year. But, are they going to be able to get it done consistently enough against these good teams in the playoffs? Are they going to be able to do it twice in the playoffs? Because, I mean, if they get behind quickly or whatever, or just get behind in general and time's working against them, running the ball is obviously not the best option. They got to be able to throw the ball. And Nick Foles, I just, again, I don't feel comfortable in that. I don't feel comfortable, as Doug Peterson would say. Kind of unintentionally, I think. He kind of stuttered, but let's take a listen to Doug Peterson Monday morning, day after, where he was obviously pressed on the matter. First question, Carson Wentz's stats. Carson Wentz's status after the MRI Monday morning. Here's Doug Peterson. Coming up in just a second, as soon as the audio loads. And here we go.
All right, good morning, or good afternoon, I should say. 12, yeah.
Doug, give any news on Carson Wentz's knee?
I do. Torn ACL. Torn ACL, it appears, yes.
Is it just the ACL, or is there other ligaments involved?
What the report I got this morning was just ACL, yeah.
Doug, you guys have overcome a lot of injury this year, but Carson's your quarterback. He's an MVP candidate. Can your team overcome this?
You sure can. Heck yeah. We overcame a Pro Bowl left tackle. We overcame our middle linebacker. We've overcome a running back. We've overcome a core special teams player this year, our kicker this year. This is no different. He is the quarterback of our football team. And each one of these guys that I mentioned is tough to replace. But you know what? The reason we went out and got Nick Foles is for reasons like this and for situations like this. And I'm excited for Nick, obviously. I hate it for Carson Wentz. I hate it for the career, or the season, I guess, that he's been having. But at the same time, it's been the next man up mentality, and that's how we approach it this week.
So how soon the swelling still have to subside before Carson can have his surgery and everything, and how soon he can?
Didn't discuss that yet.
Have you had a chance to talk to him, and what was your message to him?
I didn't see him today. Got him in, got him out. Didn't see him today. So I'll see him probably later in the week.
Do you know how it happened? I mean, was it part of that hit, or was it a step before he leaped in?
It's hard to say. It appears, watching the film again today, that it was actually before the contact. So it could be a non-contact deal. But that's just what it appears like on tape.
Contact on that play, like before he dove, or?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, before he dove.
What do you say to fans who, are as disappointed as it could possibly get, with news like this? Everyone was just so thrilled with the way Carson Wentz was playing.
Yeah.
Obviously, Nick has done this before, but people suddenly think your Super Bowl chances are gone. And what do you say to fans that are reacting like that?
That's a great question. You know what? People thought our chances were gone by the wayside when Jason Peters went down too, and when Darren Sproles goes down. And all the guys I mentioned earlier, and to the fans out there, they can't you can't lose faith. I mean, this has been a resilient football team all season long, and if there's ever an opportunity for me as a head football coach to rally the troops, now might be the time. We just came off a tremendous victory to win the NFC East. Guys are riding extremely high. It's a little bittersweet, but you know what? We got the Giants this week, and we got an opportunity to. If you win Sunday, you get a first round bye. So there's still a lot to play for, and that's what's exciting about the rest of this season. We're still playing for that opportunity to hopefully be in that game, and Nick has played a ton of football, and I was here when we drafted him, and we drafted him for a reason. And then we went out and got him again this offseason for a reason. And you never want it to be under these circumstances, but at the same time, my confidence is extremely high in Nick. You saw what he did in that game last night. The big 3rd and 8 to Nelson. I mean, these are things. People ask me, well, why did you throw the ball? Because I got confidence in Nick. I got confidence in the guys. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. I'm going to continue to stay aggressive. I'm going to lead this football team. It falls more on my shoulders than it does these players. So that's why they need to stay encouraged. That's why they need to stay, excited about this opportunity that we have in front of us.
All right. Stay excited about the opportunities that lie in front of us. Hey, look, again, I know Doug, he has to encourage them. He has to be encouraging of his quarterback now in Nick Foles. He has to say, yeah, we got him for a reason in the offseason in case something like this happened and yada yada. But when it all boils down, when it all comes down, it's just it's such a drop off to me. I know people want to say, "Oh well, the Eagles, they have the best backup quarterback in the NFL." If you feel, hey, at least they have, but still. I don't know if he could start for the Browns or whoever else but this is Carson Wentz, who top 3 quarterback in the league this year. So you're going from a top 3 quarterback to, even if you want to have Nick Foles start somewhere in the NFL, I mean, you're talking, around 30th, if that, in the NFL. That's a huge drop-off. If you're going to rank every quarterback in the NFL, that is a huge drop-off. You're going to have Foles probably line up in shotgun a lot. Remember when we, early Chip Kelly days and yada yada? I think it was the second season of Chip Kelly. And Nick Foles. That was kind of like all right, you went 27-2, ousted in the wild card round of the playoffs. See if Foles can kind of continue the magic he started. And they were kind of winning in spite of him early that season. And then he got hurt. And at the end, by the end of the season, he was traded. Or in the offseason, he was traded. The trade to the Rams and the acquisition of Sam Bradford. But, again, it just went to show you, they'd have to line him up in shotgun so often to protect him. They had to give him that extra space. And then the running game wasn't working so well. They had to do the same thing with Bradford. Wasn't very, very mobile. Oh, we got to line them up in shotgun. Try to protect him so they don't get sacked as easily because he's immobile. And meanwhile, he doesn't quite have the same arm strength. Maybe not quite is an understatement when it comes to that. But it's a trickle-down effect. And then could this affect the running game negatively as well? Because I'll tell you what, some of these runs out of shotgun that they do at times, just like, Doug, why are you calling them? That was against the Seattle game more so, especially. The guy like Blount or whatever. Run him under center. But it remains to be seen. I guess, if anything, you can say, oh, well, the Giants, it's going to be a good warm-up game because they're a dumpster fire of a team. And you better be able to beat this Giants team at this point. That's the bottom line. Come back on the other side. We'll go to the top 5 thoughts around the NFL. Plus, Carson Wentz's kind of heartfelt message, if you will, that he put on Twitter in case you didn't see it or hear it. We'll get a listen in to that. The man, the myth, the legend. Well, not legend yet, but you get where I'm going. Carson Wentz, always optimistic, a great guy. And again, from a player's standpoint and from a human standpoint, it just, it just kind of tears my heart out. Just like it tears all of our hearts out that Carson Wentz tore his ACL and is out for the season and may miss significant time next season as well. It's the Tyler Werner Show, coming back at you on the other side right after this.
It's no big news flash that many people, you included, eat as a way to medicate themselves. You can choose to worry about it or not. You can choose to panic about your situation or not. It's clear what you must do in order to make important changes.
5 letters here. RELAX. Relax. We're going to be okay.
In order for you ever to effectively figure out and map how to get to where you want to go, you have to first know exactly where you are starting.
RELAX. Relax.
You have to be willing to change what you're doing. You can change your behavior.
The champion of game day catering is the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show, Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
We prepare our balls over time, and that's the essence of the preparation.
On top of that, another trademark of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs is Brady's signature rubbing process.
When I pick balls out, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
What is a concern is the texture of the balls, and again, that's the point that Tom hit on hard.
The champion of all game day catering dishes is Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, the official meatball of the Tyler Werner Show.
We're back on the Tyler Werner Show. December 13th edition. Christmas is right around the corner. In fact, snow tonight. Overnight is right around the corner again. This past Saturday, we got at least up here in northeastern Lancaster County, about 5 inches. We were supposed to get about a coating of an inch or 2. Of course, it was a bit underestimated. That's what we're supposed to get overnight tonight, about an inch. Which I don't mind a little coating here and there. But I don't want another underestimation here. I don't want another 5 inches when they're saying, oh, probably just an inch. All right?
I agree.
So anyhow, it's time to, as we always do in the Tyler Werner Show, during football season, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. Just 3 weeks to go of regular season action. And so at this time, top 5 thoughts around the NFL. And we cue up the music. There we go. Sometimes things want to take their good old time on here. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen, with this would have been the Week 14 edition of Top 5 Thoughts around the NFL for the 2017 regular season. And we begin with the Jacksonville Jaguars defeating the Seattle Seahawks down in Jacksonville, Florida, which I saw coming. Seahawks coming off a big win at home against the Eagles, but they got to travel to the opposite corner of the country and take on this Jaguars defense. Jaguars defense number 1 in the league this year. The Seahawks put 24 points up on them, but the Jacksonville Jaguars came up with 3 interceptions on Russell Wilson. Little uncharacteristic of Russell Wilson, especially this season, which helped the Jaguars en route to a 30-24 victory. They moved to 9-4. So they're right there in the thick of things, leading that division. probably looking at the 3rd seed this year. Quite a turnaround for the Jags. Number 4 thought around the NFL. This is the upset of the New England Patriots, where the Miami Dolphins in Miami, who stink this season, they moved to 6-7. I didn't even realize this was their 6th win. I thought maybe this was their 4th or 3rd win, to be honest with you. But upsetting the New England Patriots, everybody thought this was a surefire win for the Patriots. But Patriots won 8 straight. Maybe this was a look-ahead game to the Pittsburgh Steelers next week. And this makes this game that much more important. Because if the Patriots lose to the Steelers will, at that point, essentially wrap up home field advantage, I believe. Unless they were to somehow lose out and the Jaguars were to win out, because I believe the Jaguars did beat the Steelers earlier in the season. But, in effect, to me, this game very well may decide home field advantage. We'll see what happens. Number 3 thought around the NFL. In Week 17 action, or no, 17, Week 14 action, excuse me, was the Atlanta Falcons. I'm sorry, number 3. The Atlanta Falcons getting a 2017 victory over the Saints. Big division win. Falcons now 8-5. They have the edge over the Seattle Seahawks in the wild card race. Right now, this would be for the 6th seed we're talking. As the Saints fall to 9-4, outside chance for the Falcons to win the division. Still, with the Panthers and Saints being 9-4, but nevertheless, a big win for the Atlanta Falcons in a close game to kind of stay alive, stay up to speed here in the wild card race, and perhaps return to the NFL playoffs this year after coming up just short in the Super Bowl last year. Number 2 thought around the NFL was, without a doubt, the Pittsburgh Steelers in a bit of a shootout game here against the Baltimore Ravens, division rivals, eking them out 39-38 over in Pittsburgh. How about Ben Roethlisberger this game? Throwing for over 500 yards, as I know, as my screen here freezes up and won't let me get up the stats, which you just gotta love. And my laptop, kind of falling here as well. It's a well-oiled machine here on the Tyler Werner Show. As all I want are just a couple stats here, but for whatever reason, it's not letting me open the stats. But nevertheless, again, this was a huge win for the Steelers. Steelers now 11-2, Ravens 7-6, vying for a wild card spot. And for whatever reason, I just can't get the stats up here. But Antonio Brown had a field day, I believe, as well. And what do you expect? Number 1 receiver in the NFL the last couple of years, it seems. And again, as I just hinted at, they beat the Patriots. They pretty much have home field advantage. It's easy to say that. But if they lose, which I believe they're due for a loss, and I believe the Patriots are going to bounce back, that may throw a monkey wrench into the home field idea for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 1 thought around the NFL during Week 14. Another team that was vying for home field advantage. It still is, kind of, but the Minnesota Vikings, as I thought, went to Carolina, and they lost to Carolina by a score of 24-31. Case Keenum, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. kind of a mediocre game, which I'm not too surprised by that. They were, fairly pass happy, which they kind of had to be because they were kind of behind the whole game. Meanwhile, the Carolina Panthers, I don't know what it's I don't know what's the matter with this thing. It lets me see the one team statistics, but it won't let me open up the Carolina Panthers stats. And now it wants to open up a YouTube video. But bottom line is that this is a big win for the Carolina Panthers. A chance for them to maybe take a lead in that division. And, maybe an outside chance of them to even still get not home field advantage, but maybe a first-round bye. And again, this Vikings team, they lose a little bit of ground as the Eagles now have, once again, the best record in the NFC. And I think they take care of business next 2 weeks. They still get home field advantage. But is that going to be enough? Is that going to be good enough? Are the Eagles going to be good enough with Nick Foles under center? And heaven forbid Foles goes down, because then you got Nate Sudfeld in the mix. I mean, I had to laugh this past Sunday when they said, oh, well, now the emergency quarterback is Trey Burton if Foles were to go down. Ironically enough, Trey Burton, kind of third-string tight end there, who caught 2 touchdown passes in the game. In the void of Zach Ertz. Of course, Brent Selleck also having a touchdown reception in that game as well. So, we'll see. But do I need to go through it again? And do I need to reassert that 27-2 that people Eagle optimists may continue to bring up was an aberration? And that was under very pleasant circumstances at that time. And I think that the schedule, if I'm not mistaken, was kind of a cupcake schedule. I'd have to go back and look at it. But the bottom line is, this isn't the same Nick Foles at this point either. I mean, I think in the off season he was dealing with a bout of tendonitis as well. And at this juncture, I don't see him being able to rekindle that same kind of magic of that 2013 season. Granted, the defense, yeah, they're better than they were that season. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be enough to get through the playoffs. I mean, some people want to make the case, oh, well, Case Keenum, he's not that great of a quarterback. If the Vikings can win that many games, with a mediocre quarterback, essentially, why can't the Eagles do it? Well, maybe the Vikings' defense is a tad better overall when you factor in the secondary as well. And, meanwhile, Case Keenum, Bradford went down, I think it was week 2. Case Keenum has, had all that time to adapt. They had all that time to adapt into the game. I mean, he's, for lack of, I don't know, he's basically their starting quarterback. He's basically been week after week the starter for this season. I mean, Bradford was under center basically for a cup of tea this year for the Minnesota Vikings. Wentz, he's just been thrown out there. I mean, like I said, he comes out there the first snap, he bobbles it.
What the hell?
That must have been what was going through his head. Goes right out there. First, not that means a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, but, it's like he's being thrown out there into the wolves. We'll see. He can get acclimated these next couple games. These are good warm-up games for him against bad to terrible teams. And then the Cowboys, I don't know, maybe that's more of a test. Maybe the Eagles won't even need that game. I hear Aaron Rodgers might be making that miraculous return that originally didn't look like was really practical this season. Like it was going to happen. I guess he made a superhuman recovery with his collarbone on his throwing shoulder. And is going, I believe, to suit up against the Minnesota Vikings. And it's a revenge situation for the Packers. Packers lost without Aaron. I guess that was the game Aaron Rodgers went down. And maybe that was a decent reason why the Packers lost that game. Packers, they could run the table here. They could make it to the wild card playoff. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how things play out. But they're playing for something. They want to try to run the table. And if they do finish 10-6, we'll see if that's good enough to get a wild card spot. It may not be. You got 3 teams. I mean, the NFC South, it could be the Saints, the Panthers. I think they're both kind of a lock to make it at this point, at 9-4 both. And then the Falcons, who are 8-5 and has the head-to-head win over the 8-5 Seahawks. Cowboys, they're 7-6. They're not going to win out and run the table, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. But Packers, if they win that game, the Vikings have a 4th loss. The Eagles, they take care of business this week. They're 12-2. They very well, we'll see what happens. This could be really strange. But who knows? Maybe the Eagles, they could end up having home field locked up early. We'll see what happens. And we're really going to see what happens when it comes to the playoffs with Nick Foles under center. And I guess that is too, again, if he survives. Not like I'm saying, he's going to get hurt before you know it, or not that I'm wishing injury to anybody. I don't do that. Which is why the people, especially the fraud Cowboy fans and whoever else in this area who are yucking it up about this injury, that's a total violation.
That's a violation.
That's exactly right. That's just, I got no respect for you. And I know people are going to say, "Oh, well, you cheered when Michael Irvin got hurt and Yana was." Well, you say you, but that's not every Eagles fan. Maybe that's some idiots. Just like there were some idiots that booed that Donovan McNabb was chosen at the NFL draft. It was more so that Ricky Williams was not taken in the draft. And then he ended up going to the Dolphins. That's more what that was about. That was, some idiots at the draft. Come on. That's not the whole fan base. But anyhow, I think the Eagles should still take care of business fairly handedly this week. The defense should make mincemeat out of Eli Manning. Again, not that I'm wishing any harm to Eli. Eli, he's, to his credit, he's held up through all these years. All these games where, at times he's gotten mauled. Sacked several times in many games. And the only game he's missed was because the other week ago, Ben McAdoo decided to bench him in favor of Geno Smith. And the next week, fired. by the dumpster fire New York Giants. Wasn't even good enough to finish his second season. After going 11-5 in their first season.
Hit him up! Move him out!
The McAdoo experiment was pretty short-lived, to say the least. So, the Eagles should take care of business. And as I mentioned, end the Tyler Werner Show, this edition, with Carson Wentz. 2-minute message he delivered to the Philadelphia Eagles team and, of course, to the fans here of the Philadelphia Eagles, like you and I, unless you happen to be somebody else, fan of another team, listening to this podcast. Let's listen to Carson Wentz's heartfelt message on Twitter the other day, following up on the heels of his ACL injury.
What's up, everybody? Obviously, it's been a rough day for me personally. I'm not going to lie. I have a ton of faith in the Lord and in His plan, but at the end of the day, it's still been a tough one, and it will be tough on me for a little bit. But as I just kind of reflect tonight, I know the Lord's working through it. I know Jesus has a plan through it. I know He's trying to grow me in something, teach me something, use me somehow, some way. This will just be a great testimony as I go forward. Maybe not all of you out there are Christians or followers of Jesus, but I can say with 100% confidence as a follower of Jesus, I have the utmost confidence in His plan. His plan is perfect. If we got everything we wanted in life, it would be a disaster. I know Jesus is up there looking down and He knows what He's doing. So I'm just going to surrender that to Him and trust Him in that. But I can promise to everybody, all my fans out there, in the Philly area and North Dakota area, all across this country, that this will not stop me going forward. I will come back stronger than ever. I will use this as motivation, and I will be attacking it this whole process as I recover. But at the end of the day, this year we still have something special. We just clinched the NFC East. That was step one of our goals this season, and we're just continuing on from there. I will be with the team along the way. I will be supporting them. I will be. I have the utmost confidence in Nick and the coaching staff and everybody else that they'll step up. We've been plagued with injuries all year long, and it's just been the next man up mentality, and that's just going to continue. That's just going to continue. Nick's going to do an amazing job and lead this team now, and I'm going to be there to support and help in whatever way I can. But again, I just want to say thank you. I tweeted out yesterday, thanks for all the thoughts and prayers, and I genuinely mean that. The phone calls, the text messages, the emails, the tweets, everything from everybody out there. It just means the world to me. It's so humbling to know how many people are praying for me and lifting me up and encouraging me. It means the world. And I appreciate it. God bless all of you, and I promise this will not stop me, and I will come back stronger than ever.
How about that? Carson Wentz. Whether you are a devout Christian or not, don't hold the same beliefs as he does. I mean, he's just one of these very class act guys. I guess to me, an example of a guy where, his faith, it drives him, and it's just very impressive how he conducts himself. And I mean, I'm not I'm not quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, but I mean, if I tore my ACL and that'd be freaking terrible to me. I don't think I could have that same mentality, that same level of positivity that Carson Wentz still maintains, despite it being a rough time for him. I got to say that. Meanwhile, Don McNabb. I hate to say it because he, and especially since earlier in the season, he kind of hinted at, Jared Goff is the best quarterback in the NFC right now, or whatever. And I'm sure, in a way, Carson Wentz going down. By the way, Carson Wentz breaking the touchdown pass record. before he went down with the ACL injury. How about that? Donovan McNabb, before we close down the show, amongst several others suspended / clipped from the NFL Network due to the sexual harassment allegations, and Donovan McNabb, one of them. Really crude tech. I don't know if you Google the tech. Really crude stuff that Donovan McNabb sent, and
I'm embarrassed.
As Dirty Harry Clint Eastwood once said himself,
man's got to know his limitations.
And especially when it comes to women, I don't know. Somehow, men, guys, got to learn self-control. I'm consistent when it comes to this. We got to learn, a lot of us, because I know I've learned, we can't objectify women. And we can't, I don't know, we just can't treat them like objects. And unless they have the mutual kind of flirtation and, commitment, I guess, with you, however you want to put it, the same kind of interest level in you, you can't be taking nude pictures of yourself and sending them to women who don't want to do the same, and yada yada. I just, to me, it's kind of just common sense. I know some guys, maybe it's tougher to abide by those kinds of values, but I don't know. I just think that's kind of the direction that a lot of guys need to be, I don't know, raised to follow. With all these sexual harassment allegations that a lot of them have legitimacy behind, and in this case, the text messages that Donovan sent, rather inappropriate if, on the other end, the woman does not share the same kind of interest in you. So with that in mind, that'll wrap things up for the Tyler Werner Show. Now, Donovan McNabb, Carson Wentz with the ACL injury. We got to be behind Nick Foles. That's the bottom line. Nick Foles is now the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles that the spotlight is really going to be on, as he's got big shoes to fill following the absence of Carson Wentz. Will he be able to do it, especially come playoff time? It remains to be seen. But nevertheless, what can you say? You just got to hope that Nick Foles can, I don't know, work some kind of magic that is somehow able to get it done. But until then, we got 3 games left on the schedule. We got the New York Giants. Let's see how Nick Foles comes out in his first start here.
Let's make some noise. Come on.
It's the Tyler Werner Show. We'll talk to you next time. Have a great week.